Someone please turn on the light so we can see clearly without no fight. The menopause seems to come with many flaws. Is this the truth, I wonder, or just a fright of thunder? It is part of our nature from our loving Creator, but still we find it hard to rejoice. Let's celebrate this change, even though this may sound strange, allowing our body to feel love instead of feeling pain.
Welcome to the 5th episode of Menobalance. This is the last episode of this series, and we've got a lot going on in this episode. So we're going to be hearing of 3 different people with their experience with the menopause. We have the lovely Tracey Johnson sharing her experience, and we're going to be really talking about the libido side of things. We've got Carmen Harris, who is an EFT practitioner and many other things, a healer practitioner, all sorts. She does some fantastic work, and she breaks down how tapping can really cause an effect, a good effect, on anyone going through the menopause. And then we have the beautiful Mona Light talking about sound and energy that can really balance our hormones. Take a look, enjoy. Here goes. I'm going to be introducing Tracey, and we have a lovely discussion about the libido. But before I show you that clip, I want to just give you a list of things that is part of the symptoms with regards to the menopause. This is some of the symptoms. It's not even all of them, but I wanted to read it out because I think it's really interesting. So we've got hot sweats, night sweats, bladder infections, depression, dry mouth, high blood pressure, itchy skin, memory lapses, stress, weak bladder, fatigue, bloatiness, heavy bleeding, anxiety, sleep problems, low mood, headaches, irregular periods, vagina dryness, hair loss, dizziness, brittle bones and nails, stomach problems, and many more. This list is a lot, and there's more. So I leave you with that to think about. So let's head off and listen to Tracey.
A lot going on in life, but I just feel heavy. Sometimes get out of bed. Do I really want to go in the shower now? But I've always been the person that jump up, get in the shower, get dressed. But unless I catch myself first thing, it's like to get myself motivated. It's been so hard. Super, super hard, which then has an effect on little things like going to the shops, wanting to go out with your partner, meeting up with girlfriends. Not been doing that because all the energy I have, I'm just using within the home, and I don't really want to extend myself. I just feel like I just can't be bothered.
Yeah.
But that's not me, if that makes sense. I know that's not me. It's just can't really be bothered. Definite loss in libido, which of course is going to have an effect. But yeah. So yeah.
I had experienced that one, loss of libido as well. I had that one as well. And it's just working through it, isn't it? It's working through it with your husbands or your partners, and being okay that this is going through. You're going through something that will pass, but needs to still be addressed and still need to be looked at. And
Absolutely.
I think this is one of the reasons why I really wanted to make those videos, because something like loss of libido needs to be spoken about. And sometimes, again, in a relationship, it's not spoken about.
No.
So it's just looking like, oh, you don't want to.
You're not interested.
Or you're tired.
Or you're tired.
And no, it's the change, guys. It's the change.
But we don't really, because no one has ever had that conversation with me. And I'm from a family that's predominantly women and girls. And but it's not a conversation. And especially loss of libido. I mean, do you really speak to your aunts about loss of libido? It doesn't happen. So therefore, what you end up is with your husband or your partner saying, "Hold on, what? Do you not find me attractive anymore? Why? I'm cool sleeping in a bed by myself." I mean, whereas that's not normally me, but right now I'm good with that, because right now I just need some sleep.
Yeah.
But if you look at it from their side, they're like, "What's wrong? What's going on?" And the connection gets lost. Not that that's the only way you can have a connection, but if you just ain't bothered with it, then, I mean, and I'm not just talking about like having sex. I'm talking about, get off me. I don't even want to. Yeah, go away. I don't need a hug. No, I'm all right. I'm good, thanks. So that side of it is, I didn't realise that could be part of the menopause. Going through the beginning stages, I don't know what I would say. I think the main thing that I would say is you kind of need to know your own body, because my experience is probably going to be different to so many women that are coming along, and that's probably why the list is so extensive. But I kind of know my body, if that makes sense. And so I know my body in the sense of, if I feel wrong within my body, but I don't know whether, I think it's just to be honest with yourself. Like, if you've got a lot loss in libido, you need to check out, have I really, or is it something else? And I think it's about asking yourself some honest questions. I think that's the thing, in terms of if you're snappy at people, if you're not somebody who tends to be snappy, or that you just can't get out of a funk, ask yourself, what's going on?
Menopause, technically it's 1 year after your last period. And for me, it marks a point in a woman's life. So, you're a procreating human being on the one side. You're a mother, you're a young woman, you're learning, you're growing. And then this thing happens to you. And it's like, for a lot of people, it's like the end of the world, isn't it? It's like, oh, I'm not a woman anymore. I'm not sexy anymore. And what I've got to look forward to is grey hairs and all that stuff. And I remember about 20 years ago, I think, a relative of mine came to stay, and she would sleep with a damp flannel by her bedside. And I remember thinking, ew. 10 years later, I was doing exactly the same thing. The hot flushes got me. And I'd just be absolutely drenched. And what can you do? You need the towels, you need the flannels, you need, and then your mood changes and you get miserable and grumpy. And it's like it's like the days of PMS, but worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was now in that boat. And so what do you do? And, I look at everything energetically. And for me, it's a transition. You're transitioning into the wise person. Everything that you've accumulated up until this point is what you now need to give out to the world. Yeah. So it's knowledge, it's experiences, it's your particular belief system that might help another person. So, you know, that's good stuff. But what gets in the way is how you feel. You don't feel good. So I drew upon what I'd been doing for other people, what I'd been doing for myself before, which is, you know, looking at things energetically. Every emotion that I was feeling, I was thinking, well, where's this coming from? You know, why am I feeling so miserable? Why am I so impatient? You know, you're almost becoming that curmudgeonly old person, you know, the old woman down the road who doesn't have patience for anything, is irritable. You can see yourself transitioning to that person. You don't want to be that person. So when I look at it, when we're in that phase, it's like a shedding. It's like, you know, you've accumulated all this good stuff, but you've accumulated the bad stuff as well. All the old stories that we don't want to be part of anymore. You know, all the breakup stuff, all the young foolish stuff, all the grudges that you've held, all the regrets that you have, all the times you felt hopeless or confused. All that stuff is still in your energy field. You're still carrying it. You're still waking up with it, and that's, for me, is the accumulation of that weight that we want to get rid of, so that we can see what we do have, which is the great stuff. So with the heat thing, I see that as a lot of anger. And I felt that I had a lot of anger, heat, all the bad emotions, all the kind of regrets, all the grudges and so on. If you boil down all those negative emotions, for me, they all boil down to fear. If you hate something or someone, you have to examine, well, why do I hate them? Or why do I hate that thing? And invariably, it's because you have some fear, whether rational or irrational, about that thing or that person. So I started looking at my backlog of stories that might lead me to having this heat, this anger inside of me. And I'm an EFT practitioner, amongst other things. And so there's this procedure, which I think everybody should look up, because you can Google it. It was devised by Gary Craig, and it's big. And he coined EFT, emotional freedom technique. But there was someone before him, Roger Callahan, who had a different technique, which was called thought field therapy. And EFT grew out of that as a simplified form of tapping, tapping acupressure points with statements that you make. So Gary Craig simplified THT, and he also came up with a procedure called the personal peace procedure. And it's all about using tapping to bring you into peace. This collarbone point here, that when you're confronted with something, I remember I'm addressing the emotions to do with the heat, for example. So heat comes up and you make the connection. You just think, okay, I know that it's kind of an involuntary thing, but it's also connected to, for example, my kids getting on my nerves. Yeah, it's exacerbated that heat feeling. So what you can do is just focus on how you're feeling about your children making a lot of noise at this point when you're trying to get some peace or when you're trying to do some work. You can just tap that point and just all you have to do is be with the feeling. Because what happens with us as humans, we don't like these uncomfortable feelings because they're uncomfortable.
That is a good tool that someone can use, because I started my menopause over 10 years ago now, so there's still a lot of people talking about it. So I went through what I went through. I was still I know I had to change my diet, exercise, but those moments I had brittle bones and they went into arthritis. So when I had that experience, it was the same thing. I just chose to go into it. Okay, go into that self-pain.
So you were being intuitive.
Now, where is it coming from? Why is it happening? What is it? And my one came usually at night time when I'm lying down. Okay, what is it that I'm still, and then I'm feeling the pain now, and go into it that way. So tap in for something like that, even though I wasn't doing tapping back then, I was definitely connecting to, okay, how does this feel?
Yeah,
why do I feel like this? What does it feel like?
Yeah, that's a big part of it.
Just go
just
into
it
instead of looking out of it.
Just sitting with it, stewing with it, being
amazing.
with it. And often what you'll find is that you'll be triggered by something that happened just before. And that just before thing could be even a thought. It could be, don't want to go to work tomorrow. And then you feel, or, oh God, I've got to make a presentation in 2 days' time. And then you feel, So think back a little bit to when that flush began, and then that thing that's come up in your thoughts, in your belief system, tap on that.
So my name is Muna Scoffrey. I had a daughter when I was 38. My first child got pregnant at 37. And because I had fibroids, that were very rare, I had to undergo an emergency hysterectomy. And that really affected my back. As my daughter was growing up, my mood swings were horrendous. I had really long locks into my back and I found gaps in my hair. It took me many years, only in the last 2 years, I finally cut my hair because my hair had great big gaping holes, my sides were thinning and so forth. But one of the things I really had to let go of was stress. Stress and worrying about my appearance because my hair was falling, my hair was thinning. But I overcame it. I did take things like black cohosh and wild yam. And so sound is very, very powerful modality. It helps you reduce anxiety, stress. So no matter where that stress is coming from, it can be the breakup of a relationship. It can be things to do with your physicality, hair loss, hormone imbalance, insomnia, any of these things. So we can use sound. So I'm going to just share a few sounds with you today. So typically I'm going to sound 2 of my Himalayan bowls. So these bowls are a C energy, which is the 5th interval, which is very harmonizing. So regular instruments can be used therapeutically. So in workshops and one-to-one treatments, I use various sounding instruments to create a healing soundscape. So this is known as a Koshi chime or Sahir chime. And I often recommend, if you've never done meditation before, to start with 7 minutes a day in the morning and then 7 in the evening. One of the greatest things that I like to use for healing the self is your own voice. So when I do a sounding circle, I ask people to firstly state their intention so that the circle can hold your intention for you, and then ask how you would like to be called. So that could be your birth name or it could be a name that comes to you. And when you state your intention, your thoughts then become the things that you have given life to through your own word sound. So that's really important. Also sounding, singing. So in sound healing, sound therapy, and I call myself a frequency medicine facilitator because that's how I use music, to really use sounds to do that. So with this one, this is called a free note, which you can't see, it's on the table. I'm just going to show it to you. It's a bit like a xylophone. And I often play this when I'm doing soundscapes for healing.
There you have it, guys. This is the ending of this series and this show. I hope you got something from it. I know I did. I loved interviewing everyone that took part in this show, and I thank you so much. And I hope that your journey with the menopause can bring some joy and not just sorrow and pain and discomfort. I'm sure it can happen. Until next time, love and peace. Bye.